Okay, so this one's another, one of those quick ones. So this one's, we're talking about mole fractions today. So to find a mole fraction, it's pretty simple. If you're given, the amount of something in grams, then you want to convert it to moles first. Just make sure that you're starting with moles. And then you'll add the moles of each compound together to get like a total moles. And then you'll divide the original mole numbers by that total you got, and that'll give you the fraction. And just remember, this is not a percentage. A lot of times we use percentages for these kinds of fraction things. This one's not. This one's a decimal. So in order to check your result, all you have to do is add the mole fractions together that you found, and they should equal 1. If they don't, then something's probably wrong. And then you should, do your work, double check, And again, so this is simple. So we're going right into a problem. So let's see. A solution is made by mixing 42 grams of heptane and 148 grams of chloroform. And what we want to do is we want to calculate the mole fraction of each of these compounds. So I already went ahead and, got the molar mass. Problems don't usually give that to you. You have to get it. Whether you're going to solve for it yourself or if you just look it up online, whatever. But yeah, so we already got it. So first thing we want to do is we want to convert to moles, right? So we're given, the grams, okay? So I'm just going to keep track of this by H as my heptane, So we have that 47 grams, right? Remember, keep track of sig figs, that's 2. And then molar mass of heptane, 100.21 grams per mole. Just like last time, we're not going to count the molar mass for sig figs. I say last time because I just did a bunch of videos at once. So if you happen to come across another video where I mentioned something like this, that would be it. Anyway, so remember we want to put this on the bottom because you want the grams to cancel out. If you had it multiplying, the grams would multiply and just become grams squared. You don't want that. Okay, so in this case, the grams cancel out, and you do 47 divided by 100.21. We're just going to write out the full number. We want it to 2 sig figs, so 0.47 in this case. And I will say, in times like these, where you'll have an individual answer, but you'll still probably use the whole number in a different calculation later, you want to write it down anyway. Unless you 100% know you won't need this number again, then just go ahead and write the whole number. That's how I do it, because it sucks to have to do calculations over and over again. And I don't like doing that, so I write it out. So this is our rounded one, but we also have the whole, or like the full number there. Okay, so now we found moles of heptane. Oh yeah, remember to add your units. I usually do it at the end, but you gotta get in the habit of doing it during. So do C for chloroform. Okay, similar thing, we just do 148 divided by that molar mass that I found earlier. Remember that grams cancel out. We have 3 sig figs up there, and we're not going to count the bottom one for sig figs this time. And then we do 148 divided by 119. Okay. Remember, right, moles, and we want it to be 3 sig figs, right? There we go. So that's our one with the proper sig figs. Okay. And we're just gonna write it here, so we remember. Okay. So calculate the mole fraction of each compound. So our next step here, now that we have it in moles, we want to add them together to get total moles, right? So what we'll do is we go 0.469015068 plus 1.23973 or 3865. We add the entire number together. It'll take me a second to write this out. 6, 8 plus There we go. And the purpose of doing this, rather than just using the already rounded ones, is that the full numbers might give you something completely different, because you have these numbers add together, they'll give you one thing, but when you add the entire thing, it might give you another thing, right? We want to use the whole thing. And so what we get is this crazy number. But if we remember, this 4 6 here, 2 sig figs, this one here, 3 sig figs, right? And the decimals keep going, but we don't really have to pay attention to that in this case. And we're just going to use the 2, right? So that would be 1.7 total moles. Okay, those are total moles. So now what do you do? Well, now you gotta actually find the mole fraction. These numbers here are not your mole fraction. So to do that, we're gonna use the same thing we did before. We're gonna use that H, take that mole count, 4 6 9 0 1 5 0 6 8 moles divided by that total mole. And just a good way to think about this, I'm just gonna write them both out, is that, we talked about earlier how when you're doing calculations, you want to make sure that you use the whole number, because sometimes when you use the sig figs, it rounds different, and it'll end up giving you a different answer because of that rounding. So whenever you're doing these equations, you want to use the whole number, because that your answer will be more correct that way. That's just how it is. 6 9 9 1 5 6 8. Pardon my mumbling. I have a really hard time with numbers. 08 7 5 3 7 1 8. There we go. Okay. So we'll do this again. So remember, we had 2 sig figs. And even though this one's 3 sig figs, it's not going to matter, but we'll write it anyway. So this number that we get, the 0. There we go. Okay. That's our mole ratio of that one, which would be 0.2. Get out of there. That 4 doesn't change it, 0.27 moles, okay? So that's our mole ratio for the heptane. It'll take me a second to write this out again. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, 2 sig figs again. This time the 5, that'll round it. So that's 0.73 moles. And that's of the chlorine, if I remember correctly. And then so, we'll double check our work. So we take the 0.27 plus 0.73, and you'll find that it equals 1. I'll just write that out just for the sake of the record. Equals 1. Okay, and that's how you know that it's correct. So these are your mole fractions, okay? And so, yeah, actually I just realized, that's kind of it. Again, as we said, I mean, the calculations took a lot longer than the initial explanation. So yeah, that's how it works. I guess we'll do a recap. So for mole fractions, you start out by solving for moles. If you aren't given moles, convert to moles, however you got to do that. Then you add the moles of each compound together to get a total moles, that count. And then you'll divide the moles of each element or compound, whatever you're given, by the total. Total moles. And then you'll check your result, make sure they add to equal 1. That's how you know they're correct. All right. And then, just remembering to keep track of sig figs, and, remembering all the rules regarding that is just important. yeah, but so I guess that's it. That was mole fractions.